how misfortune is the source of empathy. One of the things, one of the big questions of why do bad things happen to good people? I don't know. The answer, there's many, many things that can be said about it. It is maybe the deepest question. But definitely, if everything was just, there's no room for empathy. There's no room for compassion. Because justice means you getting exactly what you deserve. So if the world looked perfectly justifiable, that everything that happened was what somebody deserved, no more, no less, where's there room for compassion? There's no room for compassion. So the whole basis, and that's how I understand what the Medrash says. The sages teach us at the beginning, God wanted to create the world with the attribute of justice, but he saw that it couldn't be sustained, so he mixed into it the attribute of compassion. Because if he would have created a world that was like a Swiss clock, based on on laws, that whenever somebody did something wrong, they would get what they deserved. Whenever somebody did something right, they would be rewarded, and nothing else. There would be no illness to somebody who deserved the illness. There would be no wealth to somebody who wasn't a special person. Where would compassion be? Nowhere. There'd be no compassion. Right? Very important thing. Very important lesson. The basis of all humanity is based on this concept of compassion, of empathy. But just let me finish this thing. The Torah, like that, an idea like that, isn't there automatically. A person has to go through life to get certain ideas for them to become real to them. Before you experience whatever it is in your life that you have to go through, many teachings are just out there, they're not in there. And the idea is just like how you overcome certain things, or you get that which is beyond you and make it part of you. Like you've heard an idea about how to overcome an obstacle, but you didn't buy it, but now you buy it. So too, Torah also has to, you got to buy into it by going through life so that you begin to be transformed by things that until now didn't even really speak to you. The idea is you get out of yourself. You grow. To grow means you're not where you were yesterday. To grow means that new things are happening and you're being inspired. Yeah.
How do you use the word Torah? Are you using the word Torah in terms of the book?
No, not at all the books. It's about a relationship between your inner and outer self.
Why do you call it Torah?
That's what Torah is. Torah because Torah is light.
Way of teaching?
Torah is not just words. But what are the words? What is it about? It's about a relationship with God. Right. That's the whole thing of Chassidut. Torah is not just ideas. Torah is about how to connect to Kadosh Baruch Hu.
So that's how you use the word Torah?
In this context, I started off by saying that Rav Nachman doesn't just explain that Torah is the words of the Torah, but it's about a spiritual relationship with God.
That's Torah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not.
So let's go back to the languages. So we say there's good days and there's bad days. There's different languages in the world. Some of them are more connected to what we're to the light. Others not as much. And part of the reason that some of the words are more like greater garments, larger concealments of divine light, is because we don't want... God's light is very powerful. somebody who has like spirituality, imagine somebody who's really evil is also very spiritual. Now, a lot of times you could say, well, it's not real, but they have something there, some power.
Definitely.
And therefore, God doesn't want to give too much of His light to evil. So that's why the idea of a garment is not just so that God is hidden, but it's also so that His power isn't accessible for those who are just going to abuse it. And that's why the klipot, which means the outer shells, the levels that are distant from the holy, see, there's two reasons why something is a klipa, a shell. One is because it actually receives the divine light, and because it's so full of divine light, it says, I'm holy, I'm God. That's one, but it's not. The other is that because it's so far away from God, if it would receive God's light and it would think it's holy, it would be even more dangerous. So better that it shouldn't receive too much light. So sometimes, you know, like, I hate to say this. What? No. I hate to say it, so I won't say it.
But it's important.
No.
Now we're curious.
It's okay. I don't need to say it.
Say it in your mind and we'll figure it out.
Lord, it is.
But let's just, I don't need to say it, it's unnecessary, but you have this idea of the kind of the limit, the person who has the limited access to the light, because the light, if it's too strong, will become a force for the other side, right? Misuse. However, if the person can access it properly, so then God can put more light into it. The person who knows how to say no to something that's bad, all of a sudden they can receive more light. There's a lot of light that can be had from somebody who says no.
Why?
I'll tell you why.
Make space.
Because until they said no, God had to limit the light in that thing, that the power that could have overpowered somebody in a negative way. Because He wouldn't want to give it too much light, something that could be so leading somebody away. But when a person says no, God shines infinite light into that same thing, because because it's no longer tempting the person. Not to that thing itself, but to that person's soul, to the Torah, meaning his relationship to God because of that thing. So that thing becomes of much greater value when you said no. Just like the debt becomes of much greater value when you learn to be responsible. And you begin to build your new way of worldview of how to transform your life, live debt-free and accumulate savings and become responsible. That saying no unleashes tremendous spiritual power. That's why it's like nasa v'nishma. Nasa is when you say no. Nishma is when you then release a new level of God's light that you wouldn't have had. It would just, like, if you didn't overcome some temptation, you wouldn't have had this great light. Would have never shown into that place.
Not safe to say no.
No, I'm not translating. Anything that Nachman says is not a literal translation. Why does he have to say it? It's his interpretation.
Really? Well, that's what I'm questioning.
Yeah, because you're coming from a literal mind. And Nachman, you leave your mind at the door when you learn Nachman. It's all
but
like
how
metaphor.
Did they come to it? That
Why?
Not safe.
Because